I mentioned this New York Times article, and I want to read you a couple quotes from it. It's quite revealing, and it strikes me that he's come full circle on that point and many others, where he wrote that journal article saying gain of function is an essential part of the scientific process and it's worth the risk. And then by the time you started asking about it under oath in committee, he was absolutely denying it. And let me see if I can find the quote here. It's towards the end of the New York Times article.
You can read in the dark?
Sort of. Now you're saying things that are a little bit troublesome to me, that I need to go to bed tonight worrying that NIH-funded research was responsible for pandemic origins. Well, I sleep fine. I sleep fine, he says it twice. And remember, this work was done. Notice that. This work was done. Isn't he acknowledging something there? In order to be able to help prepare us for the next pandemic. This work was not conceived by me, as I obviously can't read in the dark. This work was not conceived of by me as I was having my omelet in the morning. It's a grant that was put before peer review of independent scientists.
In other words, 5 or 6 of my cronies who also agree with me that I appointed, we all got together over omelets and then discussed this and decided this would happen. But, you're right. He is kind of acknowledging. He's kind of saying, well, even if this did, it was noble. We had noble intentions, even if it did become the pandemic. But I think that remark, I sleep fine, is something that belies the truth. And I think the truth probably is that he is concerned how he'll be perceived in history. And even going back to the early days of the pandemic, January 31st of 2020, he's up till 3 in the morning. He's not sleeping well. He can't sleep that night, and he's sending email after email. And the last email he sends at 3 in the morning is to a guy that's in charge of the Pandemic Pathogen Committee that should have reviewed this research, but didn't because Fauci went around it. This will be the great error in judgment and maybe even malfeasance, that he chose to go around the safety valve, the safety committee that had been forced on him. When gain of function became a big controversy around 2012, they eventually led to a pause, 2014 to 17, where no research was supposed to happen. And then ultimately they created this committee, and the committee was supposed to be full of people who would evaluate the risks of the research versus the reward of the knowledge, the potential reward of the knowledge. This committee never saw it, but at 3 in the morning, he's sending, articles to the president of that and basically assuring him that this didn't come from the lab. So the cover-up begins from the very beginning because he's worried, because he's also getting emails from all his other buddies saying, holy cow, look at this. We think it came from a lab.
Yeah. So explain this irony or tragedy to me, because he says here, in order to help prepare us for the next outbreak, and this was all done under sort of national defense, bioterrorism, homeland security auspices, and the idea was that we would be prepared if some bad country, a country that really doesn't like us,
right,
decides to unleash one of these horrible viruses on us. Because we prevented gain of function in the States, we went to China, and we're doing this dangerous research in China to protect us from a dangerous country like China.